Let's go to the last round.
All righty. Let's see what I'm going to. Oh, this is my Celtic Salmon of Wisdom poem. You will catch the Celtic Salmon of Wisdom in here.
Okay.
Yes.
The most fun thing. Back to my thing about the italicized titles, getting people to enjoy doing the research that goes into, trying to understand all the pieces in a poem and doing that research to find out what you don't know so that you can understand it. I went back and read the Lancelot and Elaine part of Tennyson's Idylls of the King, which is the story of Lancelot and Elaine. I do appreciate Tennyson better after reading that one. I always liked The Lady of Shalott, and I got that. But the story about Elaine, the Lily Maid of Astolat, who is like a clone of Petrarch's Laura, except she's only like 14 or 15 or something. Anyway, but Lancelot it's a whole bunch of stuff, but basically he is in a joust. He is nearly killed. He has to flee the joust and winds up at the castle of the daddy of the Lily Maid of Astolat. And she nurses, the little girl nurses Lancelot back to health. She is just totally smitten with him. First love. She's never, only been around her brothers. And so Lancelot becomes very chummy with her. Of course, he's still mad, crazy about Guinevere. And but he's real careful about, I will love you like a sister. And then he does the stupid thing that everybody always does. I will give you anything that your heart desires to the half of my kingdom, basically. And the little girl just says to Lancelot, I want to be your wife. And Lancelot's like, I can't do that. And the knight of perfect humility and honor and all this stuff, nope, I'm not keeping my word on this one. And, he leaves without saying goodbye. And she then does what Laura actually talks about in the canzoniere poem 263. And she actually talks about Lucretia. She was surprised that Lucretia had not just turned her face to the wall and died. And the little girl did that. And before she died, she got the brother and the father to send the casket on a barge to Camelot. Anyway, when all of this happens, then Arthur has this moment where he tells Lancelot, I wish that you had kept your word and married this girl and, settled down, had a family, all of these things. And it gives me shivers thinking about it, because Arthur knew that this was the turning point where in the Lerner and Lowe vehicle, Julie Andrews and Richard Burton are going to be, not Richard Burton, the other one, Robert Goulet, are going to be in the rainstorm and headed off to Brittany, where they will wind up monk and nun at the end of their lives. So in this poem, I take the idea about Lancelot and Elaine and I give King Arthur his happy ending. The Eight of Cups. Dear Lance, this gift goes hard and therefore must be given well. You know my pride, my will, which would have swept the lot of us to hell, but for your own strength damning mine. The least I can do is go with grace. 8 cups, hand blown, please note, in France, are here a wish with each, to wit, Long may the silver fish of spirit leap within you. Let your lips not utter bitterness. As crystal sings, shall you, because your vision will be clear as these. Yet search for, cherish flaws, the sign of things made truly. Be tall with drink you bring to thirsty hearts. And may your life with Elaine be full of love, as I am. Guinevere.
Brava, Lee. This is really masterfully done to me.
Thank you, sir.
I didn't count the line. I didn't count the line, so I don't know if it's a sonnet. But the rhyming, the off rhyming and rhyming is beautifully handled. It's as clear as can be. You've captured someone else's voice, which in a way has kind of domesticated you a little bit. she doesn't talk like Lee. She talks like her, which is great. That's what we want our monologues and other characters to do. I mean, there are really too many beautiful things for me to single them out. Even this wonderful little way, as crystal sings, shall you. That's daring to do something like that. It has this kind of slightly archaic feeling to it, but it works perfectly because your vision will be clear as these. And then this beautiful notion, beautifully expressed, yet search for cherished flaws, the sign of things made truly. That's like in the high tradition of our English poetry in English. And I think that I take my hat off to this poem. I think it's terrific.
Thank you.
Yeah, the subject matter allows the voice to be appropriate. I mean, you're right, Dan. This is in the old high way, which you kind of can't get away with in your own voice in a contemporary moment. But you can in this guise. And it's very, very naturally done. I mean, that's what strikes me. And I'm echoing what you just said, that the voice is perfectly consistent. And it's a different voice, but it's a believable voice for this character in this situation. Is there anything going on with the Eight of Cups in terms of the tarot card signifying disillusionment and the end of a change in one's life, where you're disillusioned and you make a new start?
Okay. Yes, indeed, sir. This is exactly after the Eight of Cups in the tarot deck, which corresponds to the Eight of Hearts in the bicycle deck you play poker with.
Okay.
And the number 8, I knew about the number 8. The number 4 is the number of the world. That's the Hierophant, and is number 4. But the 8, I have a book. It's called A Book of Signs by Rudolph Koch. I got it when I was a senior in high school in a bookstore somewhere. And it has all kinds of ancient symbols. And 8 was given as a number of disaster. And I have found this 8 as a number of disaster worked out in Petrarch's structuring of the Canzoniere. There's a 4-part structure and there is an 8-part structure. And I haven't worked out the stuff about the 8-part structure yet, but it's there. So there is something to this and this tradition. And yes, the 8 of Cups as a change in affection, and sad in some ways, but Guinevere, I think, trying to make the best of it.
Yeah, that's the way I took it, was that this is a sign that Guinevere is kind of signing off on the past, accepting. Um, uh, part of what was confusing to me about this was that there are two Elaines. You know, there's the Elaine, there's the Elaine that bears him Galahad, but she uses sorcery to trick him into thinking that she's Guinevere twice. And so he impregnates her in a spell where he thinks that it's Guinevere. And then she gives birth to Galahad. But this is not that Elaine. This is Elaine of whatever the name of the place was.
The Lily Maid of Astolat.
Yeah. And so she's the one that dies because of unrequited love.
Right.
Yeah. And so I was a little confused when I got to the end, because may your life with Elaine be full of love. If it's the Elaine that you're actually talking about, Guinevere doesn't know that she has died. She's kind of
But I said that this one, Lancelot doesn't refuse her. So this is the ending that Arthur wanted. That I see now what this is leading to is I need an epigraph from the Tennyson that would make this clear which one we got.
Okay, yeah, because so in other words, you've changed the ending.
Yeah, that's what she said, and
right. This is
it reminds me a little of your pig on Circe's Island. This is a rewrite of
yeah.
Which
explain that to me, please.
Well, I mean, you imagine a pig that doesn't want to turn back into a man, and she's imagined that Guinevere has graciously ceded the ground. Now I don't know the mythology. I'm way out of my ground here. But if I got you right, Lee, Guinevere here, it's a contrafactual or contra the actual story that you're creating here, which is beautiful. This Guinevere is showing this.
It's a generous, generous act.
This gift goes hard. That's tough for Guinevere to do this. That's already you've set up the dynamic that you're after. It's so
I encourage both you gentlemen to find this and read the Lancelot and Elaine section of Idylls of the King. I was spellbound for it took me a couple of hours to read it. I was interrupted and stuff, but I was spellbound. It was, and you're right, because in Idylls of the King, Guinevere is in her tapestried room screaming traitor to the four walls. I mean, this woman's a witch.
Yeah, so here she's in. And by the rhyming of clear and then Guinevere is just so beautiful to make it that actually to end off this missive as the missive that it is. And Dear Lance is so charming. I don't know. I'm a big fan of this. Not even knowing the story or the myth or anything. I'm a big fan. If you made it clear, well, I don't even know this. I don't know that story at all. So as far as I'm concerned, this is just take it as faith. But if you know that this is contra the legend.
Yeah.
Then it really pulls you up and says, well, so to Al's point, I guess it's important for that person that they know which Elaine you're talking about. So to that extent,
yes,
some kind of epigraph would be helpful to the Als of the world who know enough to have a problem. I didn't even know enough to have that problem.
Knowing enough to have a problem is a curse on us all. Yeah, well, I'm with you, Dan. Everything that you say. I mean, it's got, and I'm a Tennyson fan, and you're not really aping the Tennysonian voice, but the how can I put this? The current that flows through Tennyson's lines. You have your own current. It's not his current, but there is a current that flows through it. And there's a lot of poetry that doesn't have a current flowing through it at all. It's not a given. But this is absolutely in the older style, where we came to expect a certain relationship between the rhythm and the words, and you really nail this. It has that period voice, a period that we've outlived, but it's all the better for having been created now. After we've outlived it, you found a way to bring it back, which is great because, like I say, I like the old styles. I like Tennyson, So
there's the word that now I think has to be put on the table is craft. There's high craft in the creation of this poem.
Yes.
I just, I think all your time working with Petrarch, you've absorbed the mastery. And here
that
it
was
is.
The point. That was the point. So thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Well, that's great. That's a great one to end on.
Yes.
For you. Because you have two more?
No, you do.
But it's your last, for it to be your last one, it's really finishing on a really strong note.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, this is a wonderful poem. So, yeah, and like I say, it's not out of the blue, but it's another display of another variation in your voice that one doesn't get from reading the Petrarch translations.
I'm a parrot.
Well,
I'm a good parrot. If I read it, I can probably spit it back.
Yeah, well, don't say it like it's a bad thing.
She's not.
Okay. All right. Well, let's rush to summary judgment here as the night burns on. But let's get your last one, Dan.
Okay. This one is called Designer.
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm encouraged. That it was a sunlit cloud he was sitting on goes without saying. What warrants some discussion is what he was engaged in, drawing something. When I floated close enough to get a read on what that something was, the words that came to mind were snowflake pattern. Why would an angel be drawing a snowflake pattern? Why wouldn't one? He answered before I had a chance to ask, breaching heavenly etiquette in the process. Sorry, I said, as in life the conciliator. I was only wondering what earthly good your artistry is doing. None at all, he said, unless you happen to like the snow. You didn't think those flakes designed themselves. You mean you're looking at them. Not a job for everyone, but then nobody's asking anyone but me to take it on. Good thing I'm good at it. Don't ask me how, but give me a pen and a page of drawing paper, and eventually I'll find a way of finding my way to what I need. If you'll forgive a little designer's pride, I'd like to think the results speak for themselves. Swan dive on down to Boise, where, if memory serves, our Lord was planning a bitch of a blizzard for this morning, and sample the finished crystals. Nothing flashy, never more in the way of filigree than the structure wants to bear, though never less than enough of it to keep your vision busy. Every flake unique, though not a one that's false to the tradition. How do I do it? All I know is I do. It's all I do, and all I want to do. I won't pretend it wouldn't be nice to sit in with the heavenly choir at times, or run a few of those endless errands the others run, riding shafts of sun down to their destinations. But something wants it otherwise. Something I could as soon resist as halt a planet with my palm. I'm talking about the way a talent has of having its way with you, of making you its puppet, of jerking your raggy self around like a shark whipsawing a carcass in its jaws. Is it only me, or hasn't it gotten even brighter than usual? Sometimes I think we could do with a little shade. Not that I've ever been in the shade, but the notion of a haven from radiance has its appeal. You've been in the shade, no doubt. You'll pardon me for saying so, but you've yet to shed the world-haunted look of the former mortal. You've even been in the dark. If you have a minute, come and sit beside me and tell me about the dark. Help me imagine its nightly infiltration of the heavens. Make me feel the cool that settles in, the intimations of oblivion. If needed, take forever. Do a favor for a laborer and tell him about the dark.
Ah, this just terrifies me. It's like looking at an angel of quiet desperation. You know, this is an angel of quiet desperation. It is terrifying that I can't. I mean, are there suicide hotlines in heaven?
I don't take.
Petrarch has got a sonnet that brings up the sweet by and by. I learned all of the hymns in church when I was growing up, and there's one that says, "Our spirits shall sorrow no more, not a sigh for the blessing of rest." You know, and Petrarch is going, "I don't think so." He's interrogating the scripture very sideways because the Inquisition was right there in Avignon. But it's. Have you sent this somewhere to be published?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. This was published somewhere. Okay. I can't quite remember where.
Because the New Verse Review has got their Halloween issue coming out, and I would think this would just scare Jesus out of people.
See, that's funny. I don't take it that way at all.
Wow.
I take it that the bit about, I'm talking about the way a talent has of having its way with you, of making you its puppet. But the angel states this as, it's just a statement of fact. I guess you could justify the whole last part with the interest in the dark as building on what you said, Lee, that this angel is, you could say this angel is looking for a cessation, for a rest, to leave off from doing this thing. But it's so proud of its handiwork in the whole front part of the poem that I just didn't take it that way. I took the fascination with the dark to just be a natural extension of being a creature of light, who by definition knows nothing of the dark and is getting an opportunity to speak to a creature who understands the dark from having been in it. And so I take the whole thing as a manifestation of what Einstein said when he said that imagination is more important than knowledge. I think the quality of imagination at work in this poem is very high. Now, it's also it doesn't call attention to itself because it's so cleverly concealed. I mean, the opening of the poem doesn't even let you in on the fact that there's an angel doing the actions of the first 6 lines until whatever it is, about line 7. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, line 6. The words that came to mind were snowflake. What would an angel be doing drawing? Well, he sneaks it in on you. It doesn't, it isn't like there was a traveler in an antique land. He sneaks it in, and he does it, and he does it again with um, uh, what good your artistry is doing. Nobody's asking me to take it on. Yeah, I mean he's proud of what he does. I don't take the fascination with the dark, I guess, the way that you may, Lee. I'm not sure that you do, but you might.
Okay, what I'm thinking though is, as a creative person, if I have not, I have not had this experience, but I knew if I had this experience, or I was pretty sure about everything I know about making art, that if I could learn this thing, if I got the knowledge of this, I could do something that was better, that was more, I could build a better snowflake if I could put it on black, night sky. And how horrible that would, I mean, is this how Satan got started? I mean, the first one's free. It's like this wanting this knowledge about things that aren't heaven, that aren't, that are the dark.
Yeah.
I also take this from the the end of the salmon poem, and this, I'm not going to go back and spawn. Why do I want to? I want to stay picked.
Well, you're bringing your own imagination into the interpretation of a poem that is by nature a product of imagination, and it invites the imagination. And so you took it that way. I mean, it allows you to go in a lot of different directions.
No, I'm not saying I don't get yours or that. I'm just saying this is where it took me, and I think this is an important thing to say to people, that this thing about there is one correct way to read a poem.
Well, yeah, certainly
from the critic priest people, and why I'm in favor of a little bit of audience participation here, and that this is the
well, but it's also important that you can back it up as you do. I mean, it's not a free for all. Everything is not everything.
Right.
Well, I'll say that both of you are getting something that I meant to be in this poem. And this angel certainly is proud of his skill, his genius.
Yes.
But he goes through a psychological change in the course of boasting about himself, and goes someplace else by the end. And that was the challenge for me. And I don't know if I brought it off or not, but is it convincing, this transformation, so that at the end he winds up in this dark place and seeking rest, reprieve from this job, this endless, eternal job of sitting there with a sketch pen designing these. He says, it's all I do, it's all I want to do. But then some cracks begin to appear in the armor. I won't pretend it would be nice to hit him with the head. So, but maybe I could take a break and go sing with the other angels. That would be nice. Or do these other things they do, ride down sun shafts and help out people on earth. That would be nice. But I can't. Something wants it otherwise. So it's not really like the salmon really has no choice. Right. This angel has no choice. And then he starts talking about, it starts getting like his subconscious comes out. I'm talking about the way a talent has of having its way with you. That's already a little, that's not so nice, maybe. And then it makes you its puppet. Now this doesn't sound so nice. And then his subconscious really bursts out, jerking your raggy self around like a shark whipsawing a carcass in its jaws. Yikes! He's like, that's no fun to be tossed around like that. And then he kind of snaps out of it, And he says, is it only me or has it gotten even brighter than usual up here? My emotional state, I'm now finding this glare of the heavenly, it's now oppressive, this radiance up here.
It's brighter.
I want out of all this. And then sometimes I think we could do with a little shade. And of course that by degrees, he then gets shade, hell. What about just some dark?
Hell,
You know?
hell.
Shade hell.
And
Well,
and it does get in the end to where Lee says it gets. If needed to, and even if needed, take forever. Tell me about the if needed, take forever. In other words, I'll sit here and listen to you tell me about the dark forever, so I don't have to go back and design my snowflakes.
yeah.
There's a little bit of that. So, and he calls himself a laborer at the end. So, it's to me, both of you are saying something that I meant to be in the poem.
Well, go ahead. No, you go.
The thing that upset me most was the accuracy of a talent whipsawing you like a shark, with a carcass, because when I have gone a certain number of days without writing poetry or making musical speech and putting it on a page, I start getting real weird. There's something wrong with me, and I've got to get to my desk and let that talent whipsaw me. And it does control me like that. I have, a dirty living room floor because the talent is whipsawing me up at my desk.
Yeah.
And that's part of the Eve problem too. But this thing that the angel gets at is that is really to look at it in that light and to say, yep, sometimes, it has me in its jaws and I can't do what I'm supposed to do. I gotta stick with this thing until this translation cracks or this poem says, it snaps shut.
Well, this angel is unusual. It's complex. And that turn in the poem that comes with, is it only me or hasn't it gotten even brighter than usual, as you say? I mean, my experience with extended speech of angels is Milton.
Yeah.
And of course, in Milton, this angel's fascination with the dark sends me down the road to Satan being cast out of heaven, landing down on the desolate plain, and the way it's described is where there is no light but only darkness visible. And so this angel is very far from that. So maybe that's why I didn't immediately gravitate to this is just an angel that needs a therapist.
Yeah, a therapist and or a break.
A vacation.
I'm trying to write a little bit here about the
Angels Union.
It's this artist thing. Being an artist is a two-edged sword.
Yes, it
is.
There's a tremendous,
and that comes through.
And that's this is the problem. There's a beautiful line in a poem by Jory Graham. I am tired. I am just. She talks about how important vision is to see things, and she says, "I'm just tired of seeing everything, of having to see everything." And so so the dark really here is. I wasn't really not being a biblical type and not being a Milton type. To me, Milton is Milton Berle. No, I didn't mean to say that. That's not true. That's not true at all. It's getting late. I'm saying silly things.
I've been saying silly stuff all night.
This is my favorite part of the evening when Dan starts saying silly things.
But like Homer. Oh, Homer who? The guy in the South says. But anyway, what am I trying to say here? It's definitely getting a little late. Yeah, the dark is not the Miltonic satanic dark. This
Right,
is the
right,
dark that
right.
the artist wants his oblivion so that he can finally relieve himself of this burden. That's the dark that I was
Interesting.
writing about. Yeah, yeah.
Well,
But
yeah, when you think of it in terms of the artist, um, there's relatively little made of the requirements of the gift. It's a few lines, and as you say, they move very quickly to the shark image, which is a really violent and scary one. Um, but in a way, the whole poem from the beginning, of course, can be looked at as a metaphor for the artist. Um, and if you look at it, if you start by looking at it that way, then when you get to the fascination with the dark, um, you can easily understand the need, I mean, because we are proud of what we're able to create, aren't we? But at the same time, there is a burden. There is something that shakes us and directs us and makes us do things. They happen to be things that we're proud of and that we're grateful that we can do, but we're still made to do them. And so the fascination with a break, as you put it, Dan, in the form of the dark when you are fully a creature of light, it makes sense. I mean, that's why I say imagination is more important than knowledge. There's a high level of imagination that's been brought to bear in this very extended, if you want to call it a very extended metaphor for the artistic burden and the artistic gift. Um, there's a lot in here. Um, hmm. And of course, this angel speaks almost exactly like a person,
Mm-hmm.
but not exactly, but almost exactly.
Oh, who
Um,
is it? Odd Body in It's a Great Wonderful Life. The angel that comes to help
oh,
Tiffany Stewart. He's that kind of angel.
yeah, I guess there are other angels besides Milton. Perhaps I shouldn't have gone there immediately, but
no, that well, good.
yeah,
It seems to provoke some pondering and some thoughts, so that's gratifying to me. It's great.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
love this one.
Thanks,
Very.
Glenn.
All right, well, now that we've got Dan a little punchy, I'm going to close the proceedings with this poem of mine. That is, the reason that I'm reading it is really because of Dan, um, because it's about, on one level, about Mozart, and I know that uh, I too love Mozart, as Dan has confessed to, but I did not always. For a long time, I didn't get it. And this is about how I came to get it. And it's entitled How I Learned to Love Mozart. In music, I preferred at first the more dramatic gestures. Mozart didn't speak to me the way Beethoven did. I granted that the fault was mine and I was missing a whole world of expression others prized. But just as in the eye, I felt the heart could have a blind spot to a kind of greatness plainly clear to anybody else. When I first met the girl, I didn't know that lately she'd committed to and been thrown over by the great love of her life. Stunned, she stayed behind. He went away. For months, we spent a lot of time together. She warmed to me, and I became convinced in time I didn't want to live without her. Then he returned and said he'd been mistaken. Could they go back to how it was before and move away together as they'd planned? She admitted when she spoke to me, her heart was torn, but what to do about it? I told her she could never be with me the way I wanted until she was free of what she'd had with him, that she should go and live with him and give it every chance. We agreed that it would take a year at least for her to know if it was right and that we shouldn't be in touch at all. I promised I would spend the year alone. All that year, I accepted day by day the arrows of emotion piercing me. I exposed my heart, and ceaselessly they found it out. But not to magnify their power, I made no attempt to struggle. I let them pass on through, as though they were those particles to whom mass is as nothing. I felt no pain, but I was being changed. When after a year I learned that she was to be married, I could let it go. I lasted through the harrowing, and so I felt that I was ready to move on. One day, I listened to the dissonant quartet, which opens with a strange, disjointed passage, as though every part is posing both a question and an answer. Musing on a troubling in the heart, it drifts as though the mood will never lift. Yet, 22 bars later, like the sun streaming through the clouds, a melody emerges. Simple joy, in a clear voice, buoying the spirit. Suddenly, my feelings opened up, and I met Mozart, soul to soul, a lifelong source of consolation.
I like your poem better than I like.
Better than you like
Better
what?
than you like Mozart?
I like his poem better than I like Mozart.
Okay.
I do agree though. This dissonant thing, he sent me the link to go listen to it, and I listened to it, and it was like there were passages I was actually, I'm washing dishes or doing something stupid with the headphones on, and then there were passages that caught my attention and I wanted to listen, and where is that going and what's happening? And then he did little roughly fluffy things like Mozart does that I just can't deal with.
Right.
And but he is right though about how this particular thing works. And I will continue to try. Well, that's another part of my preparation for this. I thought, okay, I'm going to read the synopsis of The Marriage of Figaro, and that sounded mildly interesting. So, I might. These poems are important because they give us ways back into our culture and who we are and how we got there. And it's really important that we at least give it a try or know how to say, this is why I don't like it. And I think all of these allusions and the importance of music and culture and literature, these are the stories we tell around the fire.
Well, there's more than one Mozart. And I know the one that you're talking about that does the frilly, stupid things. As
Did
you might.
Amadeus ruin him for me? The movie Amadeus, did that ruin Mozart for me?
It's not where you should start.
Okay.
Let's put it that way. But I mean, I can give you a handful of pieces, and Dan could give you more than a handful of pieces that would probably not strike you the way the things that you've heard and didn't like strike you. Is that fair to say, Dan?
Yeah. I mean, there's some Mozart, and this piece, the Dissonant Quartet, has plenty of frilly things in it. So if you just heard that one piece,
they seem earned because of that dark part.
Because of that dark opening,
earned, and they make sense.
Yeah, I think Al is capturing that in this poem.
It's not just self-indulgent.
No. And so, I mean, for a lot of people today, Mozart can sound like a music box. And it's hard to do much about that. But a passage like the one that begins the dissonant quartet can at least show that, as Al said, there's more than one Mozart.
And the man
And
did live past 35. That is really important to remember.
yeah, he was just,
We're
you know,
all,
yeah,
twice his age.
yeah. I mean, So anyway, I mean, this is such an interesting story, Al, and you know that I was going to take special interest in it because of the musical aspect. And it's complete right away. There are many, many people to whom Mozart doesn't speak the way Beethoven does.
Hmm.
Yeah.
This is the same Beethoven who once heard a wind band playing out his window, playing a Mozart piece down in the square, and said to whoever was in the room, "Why can't I write music like that?"
Yeah.
Some who who like Mozart or can get Mozart will hear always this kind of supernatural divine perfection of it that I think is what Beethoven just couldn't quite get. But anyway, what's interesting to me, I mean, there are many wonderful things about this poem, but this poem could have gone a certain way, and I was struggling with it myself before we started. And now at this late hour, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to pull it to make any sense at all. But the way you would expect this poem to go is, I love Beethoven more than Mozart. Mozart seemed like a lightweight to me. Then I had this wrenching experience with this woman, and I came out of it. But although I came out of it, I also went through it, and it must have left a scar of some kind in me. Then I heard the dissonant quartet. I heard the opening measures of the dissonant quartet. And now that I've been through this dark passage in my own life, I can really appreciate the darkness in that dark passage in Mozart. And so I came to love Mozart. That's the pat way this poem could have gone. But Al doesn't take it that way. He is focused on what happens after those dark measures, or the emergence from those dark measures into the completely sunny opening of that quartet, including some frilly stuff in there as well. And when I first read the poem, I said, I kind of wanted it to be the pat one, the one where this woman inadvertently had taught you to appreciate the dark side of Mozart and see there was more to Mozart than just the music box. But that isn't what happened to you. And that really isn't, and I know enough from other poems of yours, Al, that this, like a plant, grows in the direction of the sun. I think you grow up in the direction of the sun. And this poem is an example of that. And the darkness helps you appreciate the sun that's in Mozart, the radiance of it. And so that's it. I mean, that I have to accede to that this poem is charting a different path, completely valid, completely plausible emotionally. If I had been writing the poem, I might have gone the other way, but I'm not writing the poem. And to me, there's no right way or wrong way about this. It's what's true to you. This is completely emotionally plausible, which is what really counts, even if it's not the way my emotions might have gone. I mean, when I listen to that quartet and that beautiful, happy melody breaks out, I'm always a little let down because it's like the thing is so deep and profound at the beginning. And whoops, now we're in music. Now we're in what sounds a little like music box land again. Although later on, that quartet goes into many deep places as Mozart. One of the astonishing things about Mozart is that in the course of a nanosecond, he can take you from this Mozart music box sounding stuff into the depths beyond. Really, there's no composer that goes deeper than Mozart. None. But when he goes,
when he goes,
and when he goes. So anyway, Al, that's my sort of the process that I went through in experiencing this poem. But it's which by the way is beautifully executed.
Yes, but that's the thing about your angel poem too, though, is that maybe this angel wanted to see a little bit of the dark to know how good he had it. I mean, that's possible too.
That's possible too. Yeah.
Yeah. See, that's why I love this last three. I think they work together real well.
Well, it's invaluable for me to hear your takes on this, because the transformation that I went through, I mean, if you go by the title, it's like I suffered, and then I appreciated Mozart. But of course, I didn't suffer so I could appreciate Mozart. It was an unintended consequence, as they sometimes say. But the nature of the suffering, which I go into some length to describe, which is to say, to be put in a situation where all the time you have the opportunity to just go mad with grief. And if you're not going to do that, if you're not going to struggle against, are you going to struggle against going mad with grief? Or are you going to find a way to live in its presence?
Mm-hmm.
And so I found a way to live in its presence. And that's what the image of the neutrinos, going through the earth.
Which is great, just great.
As the earth, the neutrinos don't even notice the earth when they go through it.
Right.
And I don't name neutrinos, but you get it. The thing is, to offer no resistance is to put you in a strange place where you're not in pain, but you are being transformed, because you're not in pain, but the pain is still in you. And this may sound kind of nutso, but what really happened for me after all of that, when I came to listen to Mozart, was I understood that the sunny stuff in Mozart also disguises great pain. That when people hear Mozart as being kind of frivolous, and there's a lot that is light, but the joyful things, like the breaking of the sun through the clouds and bar 23 in the dissonant quartet, it's a hard-won joy, and it's not an unalloyed joy. It's a joy that contains within it unimportant and continual pain. And that's the only way I can characterize the way that I feel I was changed by that year in my life, because I'm a fundamentally happy person, which is not to say that I carry no pain.
Well, that's what I was trying to express, but not as succinctly as you just did. My sense of you from your poetry, which is really what matters, but also from knowing you a little, but mainly is that you are a fundamentally happy person. That's nothing to apologize for. That's just.
Yeah, I don't.
And you wouldn't. It's something to be happy of. Something to be happy that you should be happy that you're a happy person. Well,
and
otherwise otherwise you'd be insane. So
why waste it?
So that's why I buy that. I mean, the description of the relationship and of this remarkable thing that you did, this agreement that you reached with this woman, which is extraordinary, and that you gave it a year, and that we should remain unattached and see, but that's all extraordinary as a thing unto itself. But it's framed by the musical aspect. It's a very rich poem. A lot, like we said about mine, there's a lot in this poem. And it's funny, when Mozart's joy can be unalloyed, and I think the opening strains of that happy part in the Dissonance Quartet is pretty much joy unalloyed or happiness, sunshine unalloyed. But it isn't long before even those happy motifs and melodies are darkened.
Yeah.
And you see he really is something. And he said in one of his letters, not a day goes by that I don't think about death.
Yep.
Okay, that's why the end of Amadeus is the way it is.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Amadeus, the music in Amadeus, a big part of it is his actual Requiem Mass that he wrote.
Yeah.
And the conceit in Amadeus and in musical mythology, he was really writing it for himself. He knew he was dying. No, that's probably not even that plausible. I don't know. But that music goes such dark places in that Requiem Mass. And I mean,
oh yeah,
there's very little music box in that. So if you actually just sat down and instead of just hearing the little snatches that are in the movie, if you kind of just let it go through, I don't know how you bounce off it. I really don't. But it certainly has many beautiful, beautiful things in it.
Okay,
go ahead.
Want to say about Al with I deal with Petrarch and his arrows and all of that stuff on a weekly basis. And your description of those arrows was the only thing that made sense and helped me to think about how those arrows also work. That was like, this is a real description of how this works. And I hope that I will be able to steal some of that and make Petrarch less jokey about Cupid and the arrows.
Well, it's far better stolen than lived. So you're very welcome. Please steal it and put it to a kinder use.
No, it is a kind use though. That it reminds me of the poem in the Into the Dance, where when the numbers come through me. Oh, it's the one about playing Slow Boat to China. That one, that poem where when the numbers go through you. Sure is that one. I can't remember. You should know your poem. Help me.
I can't think of Slow Boat to China in the context of a poem because I've been playing it on the horn lately. So,
but it is one of your poems in here.
Oh, it probably is, but let's let that go. It's late. It's very late, but we've had a tremendous conversation. I mean, thank you for
a world record. We're all pumpkins now.
Thanks for holding out for so long. But we went at a natural pace, and here we are. So before we deteriorate further into babbling, let's say good night. I had a wonderful time with you too. And
likewise.
And
a real pleasure. And Lee, this is the first time I've ever had some extended conversation with you. What a pleasure. So great to meet you this way and get to know you. And get to know your wonderful poetry, which I didn't really know at all. So that's great.
Well, I have long been a fan of yours through Al's shows and the symposium, and I'm waiting for, I guess, what is it, October this year?
The symposium, I think, or mid-September, something. Anyway, won't be long. Maybe it is October. I've forgotten myself, but we'll see you there.
See you then.
Well, I'm envious. So,
well, you can come too.
We'll see about that. Until we meet again, one way or another.